How you doing, everyone? Greetings and welcome to this unplanned episode of 8 Bits in the Basement. And the reason it's unplanned is I hadn't really intended, well, I was hoping to make this episode coming up to Christmas later on this year. But what has happened is, despite myself, I have finished my Bob the Tentacled Hedgehoctopus game. Yeah, it just kind of fell together in the last week or so, which is actually a bit of a relief, I'll be honest. Because what had been happening was, I started this whole Atari Basic thing back in December. And then after I'd learned a little bit, I decided to start making the series, and that's what I was doing. And as the series was going, I was challenging myself in order to try and learn a little bit more to do different things with Bob and see what kind of a game I wanted to make. And the biggest problem I was having was figuring out exactly what I wanted the game to be. Because when you think about it, if you're making a game about aliens or something, it's going to be a shooting game most likely. If it's about ninjas or something, well, it's going to be a fighting game. If it's about a hedgehog with tentacles, I really don't know what the hell it's going to be about. So what I was kind of revolving around was maybe Bob was in his garden and he realized that a buddy of his had been kidnapped or something, so he had to go save him. And I don't know, he needed to have special powers, so he'd find a cave in the garden somehow, and then going into the cave there'd be problems he'd come across. And once he was in the cave, he'd have to find a few bits and pieces that let him grow tentacles, and then he'd do something afterwards. But it was kind of long, it was going to be sprawling, it was going to be very complicated. So I was working on a platformery type thing, just to see if I could do it. And seeing as the jumping in it took hours just to kind of get somewhere right, I said, no, Pete, what you need to do is you need to roll back and you need to make this kind of thing simple. And I realized that Atari games back in the day, you know, the likes of Combat and games like that, Freeway and things like that, were simple concepts, but they were an awful lot of fun to play. So I said, that's the kind of thing I should really be doing for a first game, that kind of way. So what I said I'd do was, I'll just make a first part, kind of Bob the Tentacled Hedgehoctopus origin story type thing. So that's what I've done. And what I did was, you may remember that in one of the episodes of Atari Basic I was doing, I said that maybe a missile, when stretched with a little doorway in it, was maybe a good obstacle for Bob to try and get past. Well, I decided I'd roll with that and make a game about it. But anyway, what I'd like to do right now is show you some of the stuff I was working on in the past for this original game thing, and then I'll show you the game that I actually managed to make and that hopefully will be coming out in the next fortnight if it gets through beta testing fairly okay. But just let me show you. This here is when Bob had gotten into the cave, more or less. There would have been some kind of background or some kind of thing like this. I've just written Bob in Playfield Pixels here. But the thing here is that Bob can move around. He can move through the Playfield Pixels here. They could block him equally if I wanted to. But Bob can also shoot, and he can destroy these little pixels. See, that's the other thing. And I can make him shoot to the left or the right, depending on which way he was facing. Or I could have him shooting up, down, diagonal, all over the place. So that would have been part of the game, more or less. Another part that I had going here was this part here, which is not all that impressive. But what we're looking at is, again, we're looking at these tile screens, and they're scrolling by quite fast. But I can actually shoot him, so if I just keep the fire button held down, I might give you a better idea. What the idea behind this was that it would be drawn in such a way that it'd be kind of a random maze. And this was the point after Bob had found the hole in the garden that he fell into to go down into that cave. And this was the tunnel on the way down there. And what I wanted to do as well while I was doing it, you may be able to see there's a little ball that's bouncing around here as well, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to see if the Atari, the real hardware, was capable of running all this stuff at the same time, because I had read that although stuff will work on a PC like this, in an emulator like Stella, it mightn't necessarily run on real hardware, and that was something that I wanted to be sure would happen, that it'd run on real platform. And I'm happy to say it does, but this won't be used in this particular game anyway. But the thing that really kind of clinched the deal for me, that I was getting out of my depth, was when I tried to make a platformy game. Now here we're using the multi-sprite kernel In any of the Atari Basic that I've been showing you, we've been using just the regular kernel that comes with the default kernel. And with that, we can only have 2 sprites. We can have our Bob sprite and one other sprite, and that's pretty much it. With this guy, we can have up to 6 sprites on the screen at any time, but there are some pretty severe limitations. We're losing a missile. We've got a mirrored screen, so we can't really draw on the screen the way we want to. We're only using half of it, and the other half is mirrored. And there's a few little differences like that. But the main thing is, if we use this kernel, we're stuck with it throughout the whole game. So this was really a non-runner. But what I have Bob doing here is I have him jumping. And now it looks like it's working a bit, you know. But the thing is, he kind of gets stuck in the playfield the way I have it set up. You see, he looks like he's jumping there, but I was using collision detection. So if Bob hits a playfield pixel, he gets stuck. It's completely obvious what's going on here. He's stuck there like that. But anyway, it wasn't working out great for me. So, like I said, I decided to write a game based on that missile wall thing that I was talking about in a previous episode. And this here's what I came up with. Bob and the Alien FireFlies. That's what I've called it. I'll just put a little video of it playing here because I can't talk and play at the same time. But the game is pretty much what it revolves around is that Bob, he's a little hedgehog and he lives in a forest. But unbeknownst to a lot of people, aliens have been visiting Earth for years and years and years. And they collect flora and fauna and all that kind of crap. And they bring it back to their planet and have a look at it, you know. But anyway, one of the aliens, when he was on Earth, he dropped a bottle that contained alien fireflies. And these fireflies kind of flew off everywhere and they were propagating all throughout this little glade. So the procedure that the aliens have when this kind of thing happens is they cordon off the whole area and they put down 2 sweeper transporty beams that go back and forth. And any of the fireflies they would touch, they beam back to the planet. So it's a kind of a pickup type thing. And they pretty much leave the area and that's that. But anyway, Bob happened to find this little area. And Bob, he doesn't care they're alien fireblugs. He doesn't even know that. He just loves the taste of them. So he's running around and the thing is you have to try and eat as many of them as you can. Now, to put a little bit of variety into the game, you can't be hit by these transported things. If not, it's game over. And the other thing is that these are alien fireflies. So what they do is they change color. They change from green to yellow to red, and then they explode. And if they explode, it's game over as well. So it's kind of a race to try and eat the bug before it explodes and not be hit by these barriers. And yeah, that's pretty much the game. But what I've done to kind of add a little bit more value to it is that I've put in a 2-player version as well, because every Atari game that was worth its salt had a 2-player version in it. So what we have are 2 Bobs. Well, it's not actually Bob, it's Bob and his buddy. I don't know what their name is just yet. But anyway, what you're doing is you're in a kind of a competition to be the first to eat 20 of these fireflies. Now, the thing has been changed around a little bit. The fireflies don't blow up anymore. They stay green so that you have all your time to go get one. The thing is now, if you're hit by one of these sweepy beam things, it's not game over either. You're transported to the alien planet for 5 seconds. They have a look at you, realize that you're not a firefly, and send you back to Earth. And once little hedgehog comes back to Earth, he flashes for about 2 seconds. And during this time that he's flashing, he can't be transported back again. So it's a kind of a lazy way to make sure that he'd come back somewhere where one of those transporter beams wasn't, you know, that it wouldn't beam you right back straight away again. But the other thing is, equally, you can't eat any fireflies while you're flashing. So it's like a kind of a 7-second penalty if you get hit by one of the transporter beams. But that's pretty much it. And I'm kind of happy with it. And as I say, it's out now in the wild. There's 7 people have a copy of it and they're playing away on it on different hardware, real Ataris and also flashbacks and all that kind of stuff to make sure that it's working properly and that there's no bugs or anything that cause it to fail or not work or whatever. So as I say, it should be out in about a fortnight's time, and I just wanted to let you know about it. That's it. So I should be along fairly soon with another episode in a little while. And oh, there's one other thing. I've popped in 1 or 2 little Easter eggs as well, so there's not just a bland little kind of, you know, find things game and that kind of. There's 1 or 2 little Easter eggs to be found in there as well. But anyway, until the next video, take good care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye bye.